Okay, here we are again, folks. We're in a mixture of beautiful trees trying to come out for spring and tons of dead ones that have been murdered by the artificial weather patterns. Not man-made climate change, but the artificial weather patterns. And another day, another tightening of the belt. Really, all I can hope is that people start to come out of this pandemic phase and realize it's the crash of the economic system. It's the planned breakdown of the supply chain and changing over of the guard, so to speak. See, again, a lot of people in this truth community have known this reset has been coming. You know, that's why people are getting Bitcoin, stacking silver and gold, and collecting foreign currencies and all kind of different things. But the loss of freedoms aren't supposed to come with it, you see. And if people don't pay attention to the moves that they're making under the guise of the Plandemic, then they're going to be able to do things that people will just justify. I mean, how many people really realize that the Fed buying up everything and the nationalization of everything and the industries and corporations that are being swooped up by the government, chosen ones, by the way, the other ones are all going to go down, but all bought up and bailed out. And when corporations and governments merge like this, and I really know that it's been this way for a long time, I get it, but they're right in our face with it. That, again, is called fascism. And with the bringing in of this electronic state and technocratic state with the guys, under the guise of the pandemic as well, they're able to keep conditioning people into more and more tightenings of the belt. I haven't been there, but I was just told that the grocery stores now, and I know they have lines, I did know that, and only letting a certain amount of people in, but now there's police there. You're only allowed a certain amount of time inside there. It's just, while experts are debunking the numbers, and even, you know, the people at this Imperial College and this Professor Ferguson are backtracking on their own numbers, and people are starting to wake up to it, where it's been downgraded in Britain, you know, what was it, 11 days ago now, and then they went under lockdown. We know this thing's starting to appear to be BS, yet they continue to lock down. Trump's supposed to talk tonight, 5 o'clock. I guarantee you that we'll be tightening the belt more instead of, loosening restrictions. Just because of how much you can look around and see the tightening going on when you go outside. I mean, again, even though around here people are out, you know, I mean, but when you go places, the businesses that are allowed to be open are operating like a high school cafeteria or a grade school cafeteria waiting line. And if people can't put that all together, that this is, and they're happening in all of them, you know, I guess the ShopRites are calling the Wawas overnight, and they're coming up with ideas to make it safer. No, you know, they're being fucking told this, to do this by somebody somewhere in the hierarchical structure that controls them both. And they would be the money people, by the way. The same people that have caused this mess and are behind this transfer of wealth that, you know, debt jubilee would love it. But these people aren't going to relinquish power like that. So to realize this now, while they're clamping in all kind of restrictions on freedoms, and to not justify it under the guise of, well, it's just a reset and I need to do this and that. Seeing what's really going on is the only thing that's going to make this go in the direction that you want. You know, if people just come out the other side of this and hunker down like they've been told, these guys aren't going to go, okay, well, you know, the white hats beat us, you know. The Fed is acquiring more and more power the more they buy up, and they're giving central banks around the world money to buy things with the dollar, which they will be crashing soon. And you know, as Greg Mannarino often says, you know, I mean, the central banks, the Fed wants to be the buyer and lenders of last resort. Well, buying everything and giving everyone dollars to do it, and other central banks, and that is doing just that, acquiring more and more things. And when government, merged with corporations, control all resources, and the distribution of those resources, as you can see, is going on now by only being allowed in the store certain times, and, you know, the supply chain being shut down by them, which didn't need to be done, okay? They did it. You see that is acquiring more power. That's not giving power to the people. So I just hope people get on the same page soon. You know, I mean, we've all known this has been coming for a long time. It's time to kind of unite behind the commonality of the destruction of freedom along the way, and that no amount of money is worth the destruction of freedom, number one. No amount of safety is worth the destruction of freedom, number two. So no matter where you fall in on this, these are not only our freedoms, but the freedoms of our kids, grandkids, and kids, and all future humanity that are going to be doomed to a life of hell because why? You were scared, you were tricked, you were duped, you were ignorant, you were apathetic. What? You know? David Icke has on his website today, although I first saw it mirrored on Max Igan's Crowhouse today, a guy explaining virology very well. Look, I don't claim to be a studier of virology, but when things go on, you research a little bit so that you can understand things, so that you're not told things on a square box. So, you know, the more you take not only the researchers and doctors that you trust and their, you know, referenced work and things that they're saying, and look into it yourself, but you can see logically, once you understand those things, that this is all nonsense. But I'll put it with this, and he explains it very well, and he's got good credentials, and whether he does or whether he doesn't, it certainly coincides with the understanding I've gained over this mess of how viruses transmit / do not transmit and are not alive, and, you know, what they actually are and how all these things work, just so that you know. It's you don't have to sit down and take a college course, you know what I mean? It just gained the basic understanding so that you're not manipulated. So here's, if I can get it on here, more deadness, which sucks. I saw in Max's video, because he's kind of been doing walking talks too, and the beauty of Australia, you know, everything's green and creeks and all kind of shit, and fucking peacocks making noises, you know what I mean? Like he's way got me beat, you know, man. But of course they just went under lockdown, and he's not supposed to be out, and he's out, you know. And as he was walking, many people were out. So what people need to do is not be afraid of the virus. So realize what it really is. Anyway, keeping it short today. Love you guys. Get learning, get speaking.